The night the betrayal happened, the air in downtown Austin felt unnaturally warm, the kind of heat that stuck to your skin and made everything feel heavier than it should. I remember packing back and forth inside the small coworking office I had practically lived in for 18 months, watching the minutes crawl by on the cracked digital clock mounted over the whiteboard. My startup Iron Drop was the only thing I had cared about since graduation, a small but promising tech platform that predicted microtrends in user habits before they went mainstream. Investors told me it was ambitious. My friends told me it was obsessive. My girlfriend, Harper, once told me it was going to be big enough to change everything. Turned out she meant it in ways I didn't expect. It was almost midnight when Harper walked in. Her heels clicked sharply on the concrete floors, echoing through the empty building like an omen. She didn't usually dress up for our late-night work sessions, but tonight she wore a fitted black blazer and a silk top I had never seen before. She looked like she was on her way to a board meeting, not our usual caffeine-fueled grind. "Hey," I said, smiling at her, "you're late." She didn't smile back. "That's what I want to talk about, Ethan," she said, shutting the door behind her. "Us, this, all of it." My stomach tightened, but I brushed it off. We'd had stress arguments before. It came with building anything worth building. "What's going on?" I asked. "You look tense." Her eyes traveled around the office, the whiteboards filled with scribbles, the sticky notes littering my desk, the empty energy drink cans I kept forgetting to throw away. Her gaze lingered on the touchscreen monitor, displaying Iron Drop's real-time analytics dashboard. "You've built something incredible," she said quietly. "Yeah," I said, softening. "We built it. You've been here since day one." That line hit her like an insult. "No, Ethan," she said, her voice sharpening. "That's the problem. I've been here since day one, doing the work, putting in the hours, pitching, grinding, but I don't get credit. I don't get equity. I don't get a say." I blinked. "What are you talking about? We have an agreement. We talked about equity when—" "I'm done talking," she cut in. She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder, thick, stuffed with papers, contracts, legal stamps. My heartbeat spiked. "What is that?" I asked. She placed it on the desk with a thud. "The new ownership structure." "We don't have investors yet," I said slowly. "Ownership structure of what?" She smiled a cold, triumphant smile. "Iron Drop." I reached for the folder, but she placed a hand on it. "Before you get upset, just listen. I did what you wouldn't. I went to investors, real ones, people who understand what the platform can become, people who aren't scared to move fast. They loved it, the concept, the pitch deck, the analytics. They loved everything." My mouth went dry. "You pitched Iron Drop without me." "I didn't just pitch it," she said. "I sold it." My entire body froze, my mind too. Her next words broke me in ways I didn't know were possible. "I'm the majority owner now." I stood there staring at her, waiting for the punchline, the explanation, the remorse, something, anything. But she just kept going. "You never filed the updated paperwork," she said, almost sympathetically. "All that talk about us building it together was cute, but legally, the earlier documents you signed gave me more leverage than you realized. So when investors came on board, it was easy to structure things in a way that gave me control." "You stole it," I whispered. "I took charge," she corrected. "You're brilliant, Ethan, but you're slow, you hesitate, you overthink. I don't." She smoothed her blazer. "It's why investors trust me more." I wanted to yell, scream, demand an explanation, grab every line of code I had ever written and storm out. But I was frozen, struck silent by the realization that this woman I had trusted, loved, confided in, had carefully planned every part of this. "You manipulated me," I managed. "I positioned myself," she said. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, smirked, then met my eyes again. "They're waiting for me," she said. "We're announcing the acquisition and leadership restructuring tomorrow morning. I'll need you to sign the transfer documents tonight." "No." She shrugged. "You can refuse, but I should warn you, the investors have already prepared an injunction. If you don't cooperate, you'll lose everything. Not just Iron Drop, your patents, your royalties, your rights to the algorithm. They'll freeze them all." I felt sick. "You're doing this to me?" I asked. "After everything?" Her expression finally softened, but only for a second. "You'll thank me someday," she said. Success needs someone decisive at the top. I'm that person, you're not. You're unbelievable, I whispered. And you're replaceable, she whispered back. Then she handed me a pen. Sign it. I didn't sign that night. But the injunction came the next morning. And the next week my accounts froze. My access to Iron Drop servers was revoked. Every lawyer I spoke to told me the same thing: she outmaneuvered you, you don't stand a chance. Harper became the face of Iron Drop. I became a cautionary tale. For months I drifted, angry, humiliated, broke. I worked odd freelance gigs, built small apps that made pocket money, slept on my cousin's couch, avoided everyone who'd once believed in me. Every time Harper went on TV or posted some flashy update about Iron Drop's skyrocketing growth, it felt like a blade slicing through my ribs. But while she celebrated, I studied. I paid attention. I watched what investors she courted, what clients she landed, what weaknesses she ignored. And when the opportunity came, I didn't hesitate. Because she was wrong about one thing. I wasn't replaceable. I was patient. And patience is a weapon. 2 years later, when Iron Drop's internal chaos hit its peak, and the company teetered on the edge of collapse, I stepped out of the shadows with a proposal that left her frozen the same way she once left me. A $1 million buyout offer. For the company she stole. The company I built. The company I was about to take back with interest. Harper didn't know it, but Iron Drop had already been dying for months before my offer reached her inbox. From the outside, the company still looked polished: glossy press releases, tech magazine features, staged photos of her in expensive blazers standing in front of neon-lit panels of analytics screens. But behind the scenes, Iron Drop was bleeding out. I knew because I designed the original architecture, and I also knew she didn't understand the parts she hadn't personally built: the predictive loops, the data compression models, the relationship between the trend markers and the adaptive clusters. Those were my fingerprints, my equations, my intuition turned into code. Without me, Iron Drop had accelerated into rapid expansion without stabilizing the system's internal load. The platform wasn't built to scale at the speed she was chasing, not without major reconstruction. The more clients she took on, the more the system's core began to destabilize. Investors loved her confidence until the outages started. The first outage hit small clients. The second hit a mid-tier retail chain. The third, a major entertainment platform that publicly called the system unreliable. That one made headlines, and Harper started losing sleep. She needed someone who understood the inner workings of the system, but she had burned the only person who did: me. And I stayed quiet. I wanted her desperate but not destroyed, not yet. So I watched from afar as she scrambled through consultants, contractors, data engineers, analysts. None of them could fix what was fundamentally broken. The system was eating itself, consuming resources faster than it could replenish them, until Iron Drop's infrastructure costs skyrocketed beyond sustainability. Then the investors began to whisper. They remembered me. The original founder. The mind behind the machine. The guy they wrote off too early. So they reached out discreetly. A private meeting. A hotel suite on the top floor of a quiet business tower in West Austin, the type of environment where deals happen quietly in low light, with champagne glasses sitting untouched on marble counters. I didn't bring lawyers, I didn't bring documents, I didn't bring anything except confidence, the kind Harper said I lacked. The 3 investors sat across from me on a long glass table that overlooked the city skyline. All of them had the same guarded expression, the same expensive watches, the same polished shoes. The oldest one, a man named Lawson, leaned forward. Ethan, he said slowly, you built something visionary, you know it, we know it, but the company is struggling. Struggling is an understatement, another investor, Marin, added with a tight smile. The technology is collapsing. We underestimated how much of the system's stability was tied to you. I didn't flinch, I didn't soften, let them sweat. Finally, the third investor, the one who had the least patience, spoke. We want you back. I leaned back. As what? Contractor, consultant, silent support. I've seen you deal with Harper, she'll never allow it. Lawson exchanged a look with the others. We don't need her permission. That was the moment I realized exactly how much leverage I had. So I said carefully, "What are you offering?" "Partial control," Marin said. "We restore you as a technical lead, you rebuild the core model, we give you equity, a fair percentage, the board will support it." "No," I said. All three investors looked surprised. "No," Lawson repeated. "No, I'm not fixing a broken ship so she can keep sailing it." Silence filled the room, heavy, expectant. "What do you want?" Marin finally asked. I looked out the window, watching the city lights blur in the dark like sparks floating up from something burning far below. "I want iron drops," I said quietly, "all of it." Their shock was immediate. "That's not realistic," Lawson murmured. "Ownership transitions of that magnitude are possible," I said, "if the price is right." "And what price do you think is right?" Marin asked skeptically. $1 million, I said. It wasn't the true valuation. It wasn't even close. But the number wasn't about fairness, it was about domination, about poetic justice, about flipping the entire painful timeline into one sharp moment of reclamation. A company worth tens of millions at its peak, handed back to the person who built it for a fraction, because she ran it into the ground. The investors whispered among themselves. I let them. They weren't the real problem, the problem was Harper. "Even if we agree," Lawson said quietly, "Harper won't." I met his eyes. "She will," I said, "because you're going to deliver the offer and she's going to realize it's the only lifeline she has left." The courage in my voice wasn't arrogance, it was understanding. I had been watching the numbers, quietly tracking iron drop through public data and back-end signals. I knew exactly how close they were to shutting down. They were weeks, maybe days, from disaster. The investors finally nodded. "We'll send the offer," Marin said. "And we want you ready," Lawson added. "If she accepts, you need to sign immediately." "I'll be ready," I said. Then I stood. "Let me ask you one question," the impatient investor said as I reached the door. "Why come back now, after everything she did?" I turned slightly, hands in my pockets, voice calm. "Because it's mine." I didn't need to say anything more. 2 days later, at 6 in the morning, I woke up to an email with a subject line that almost made me laugh. "We need to talk immediately." It was from Harper. Attached was the offer. My offer. And under it, written in frantic, clipped keystrokes, "We need to meet today, please." I showered, dressed, and drove toward the same coworking building where she once told me I was replaceable. Now she was the one scrambling. When I walked into the glass conference room, Harper was already there. She looked nothing like the immaculate, glossy CEO the world saw online. Her hair was pulled into a messy knot, dark circles painted under her eyes, her blazer wrinkled as if she'd slept in it. The moment she saw me, she stood. "You can't be serious about this," she said. "Oh, I'm very serious," I replied. "You're offering $1 million for a company valued at..." "Valued at nothing," I interrupted. "Your infrastructure is collapsing, your client retention is dropping, your runway is dry, your investors are seconds from pulling out. Iron Drop is worth exactly what someone is willing to pay for it." "And you think that someone is you?" she asked, her voice cracking. I stepped closer. "I know it is." She swallowed hard. "You can't do this," she whispered. "You already did," I said softly, 2 years ago. She flinched like the words physically hit her. "This wasn't supposed to happen," she said. "I didn't expect." "You didn't expect I'd come back stronger," I finished. "You thought you took everything, but all you took was the part of Iron Drop you could hold in your hands. You never understood the part that lived in my head." Silence again. She looked down at the table, at the printed offer she had probably read 1,000 times. "You're lowballing the valuation," she said weakly. "I'm reflecting the reality. And if I say no..." I tilted my head slightly. "You won't." Her eyes flickered, anger, fear, grief, regret, all tangled together. "You really want to watch me fall," she whispered. I shook my head. "No, Harper, I just want back what you stole." She slowly lowered herself into the chair, her fingers trembling as she picked up the pen. She hesitated for seconds, then minutes. But she signed, and as her signature dried on the paper, something inside her broke, quietly, invisibly. Something inside me did the opposite. For the first time in 2 years, I felt whole again. She pushed the document toward me without looking up. "Congratulations," she said hoarsely. "You win." I took the paper. "This isn't a victory," I said softly. "It's closure." She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Iron Drop was mine again. But the revenge wasn't over. Not yet. There was one more thing I needed, something even Harper never saw coming. The day I reclaimed Iron Drop should have felt triumphant. Fireworks, relief, some dramatic movie moment with inspiring music in the background, while I stared out over the city like I'd conquered something monumental. But instead it felt quiet. Strangely quiet. I walked out of that conference room holding the signed documents in a simple folder, nothing flashy, nothing gold-stamped or framed, just paper, words, lines binding the past and future in black ink. Harper stayed inside. She didn't follow me. She didn't call after me. She didn't even look up when I closed the door behind me. And even though part of me wanted to hate her, the truth was more complicated than that. Betrayal like hers didn't come from nothing. It came from ambition, insecurity, fear, all the messy things humans carried inside them. Understanding the reason didn't excuse what she did, but it did make it clearer. Still, clarity doesn't cancel justice. Justice needed a witness. So I called the one person who saw the whole thing unfold from the beginning, my cousin Marcus, the guy whose couch I crashed on during those 2 lost years. The guy who saw me fall apart, then slowly rebuild myself brick by brick. He arrived at Iron Drop headquarters in a faded hoodie and sneakers that squeaked on the polished floors. "You actually did it?" he asked, eyes wide. I handed him the signed contract. He stared down at it, then at me. "You're serious?" "Dead serious," I said. He looked around the lobby, the huge neon sign bearing the Iron Drop logo, the cold modern furniture, the glass elevator reflecting our faces back like a funhouse mirror. "You own all this now?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Well, damn," he said, "revenge looks expensive." I snorted. "Funny thing is, this building still has 6 months left on the lease. They overspent thinking they were the next Apple. And now it's mine." He whistled. "Bro, I'm proud of you," he said suddenly, voice softer. "I remember the night she screwed you over. You looked like someone unplugged your soul, and now here you are, full circle." But I wasn't full circle yet. Not until I walked back into the place I had built, truly walked into it, not as a stranger, but as its rightful owner. I rode the elevator up. The doors opened on the top floor, revealing a workspace that once felt like home to me. The same concrete floors, the same layout, but everything else had changed. Desks were empty, cables were unplugged, screens flickered with error messages. Half the chairs were gone, sold probably. The room smelled faintly of desperation, like the last days of a party where no one knows how to clean up. Iron Drop wasn't a company anymore. It was a carcass. But carcasses have bones, and bones can be rebuilt. I walked straight to the old server room, the one they never let reporters see. Behind the racks and blinking lights, buried under heat and static humming, was the part of Iron Drop I had always cared about most, the core data cluster. My cluster. When I plugged my drive into the diagnostic port, the system recognized me. Access granted, ETHAN Hall root level. Those 5 words lit something warm in my chest. The algorithm was hurt but not dead, corrupted but not erased. It was like finding a fire still glowing under ashes, enough to reignite the whole blaze if I coaxed it carefully. I spent the next several hours mapping damage, tracing failed threads, rebuilding missing logic and unspooling Harper's rushed fixes. She wasn't incompetent, she was impatient. She patched what she didn't understand, pushed deadlines she couldn't meet, and made promises she lacked the vocabulary to fulfill. She didn't sabotage the system. She smothered it. By evening, I had recovered 30% of the original framework, enough to prove the company still had value, still had potential, still had a future. Now it needed a leader. A new one. A real one. 2 days later, after repairing the most critical faults, I called for a full board meeting, not a secret one in a hotel suite, a formal one right there in the half-deserted office. Lawson, Marin, and the third investor arrived with guarded curiosity. "You brought this place back to life," Marin said, surprised. "Not yet," I said, "but I can." Lawson folded his arms. "What's your plan?" I tapped the screen and revealed a new name. IONDROPLABS, a IBULDING initiative. "What you created was good," I said. "What Harper built was bold, but what I'm proposing is sustainable, scalable, smarter than anything we tried before." The investors studied the plan, the restructuring model, the new pricing tiers, the enhanced infrastructure stack, the hiring roadmap, the predictive module rebuild. The impatient investor finally leaned back. "This is brilliant." "It's practical," I corrected. "Brilliance is unstable, practicality wins." Lawson smiled for the first time since I'd met him. "Ethan," he said, "you're going to pull this off." "I know," I said. "You're confident," Marin said approvingly. I nodded once. Confidence wasn't something I lacked anymore. Not since the moment I watched Harper sign away the company she stole. Speaking of Harper, the board meeting had barely ended when the receptionist buzzed in. "Ethan, someone is here to see you." "Who's?" "She didn't give a name," the receptionist said, "but she looks upset." I didn't need a name. I knew. When Harper walked in, she looked smaller than I remembered, not physically, but in spirit. The CEO armor she once wore was gone, replaced by something rawer, something closer to the woman I first met before ambition changed her shape. "Why did you come?" I asked calmly. "I needed to see it," she said, "all of it." She looked around the office, the systems, the screens, the quiet hum of progress returning. "You fixed it," she whispered. "Not yet," I said, "but I will." Her eyes softened painfully, deeply. "I shouldn't have taken it from you." "No," I said, "you shouldn't have. I thought if I pushed hard enough, if I showed them I could lead, I'd prove something." "You did," I said. "You proved you were willing to burn everything to stand in the center of the fire." She winced. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Apologies don't rewind time." "I know," she swallowed, "but I needed you to hear it." We stood there for a long moment, not as enemies, not as lovers, not even as former partners. Just two people who had tried to build something together and failed each other in different ways. "You're going to make Iron Drop better than it ever was," she said quietly. "Yes," I said, "I am. And I don't know what I'll do now." I met her eyes. "That's your next chapter," I said, "not mine." She nodded slowly. "Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Harper." She walked out, this time without heels clicking sharply, without legal folders, without cold triumph in her eyes. Just a woman leaving behind a mistake she finally recognized. And for the first time since the day she betrayed me, I felt no anger toward her, only distance. 2 months later, Iron Drop Labs relaunched. The platform stabilized. Clients returned. New ones joined. The investors doubled down. And for the first time since the company was born, Iron Drop wasn't just surviving. It was thriving. At the 1-year mark, Forbes ran a headline that made Marcus laugh so hard he almost choked on his cereal. "The comeback CEO who bought back his own company and built it better." When I finished reading the article, I leaned back in my office chair, staring at the skyline of the same city where I once lost everything. Revenge, I learned, wasn't anger. It wasn't destruction. It was reclamation. It was building something so strong the past couldn't touch it anymore. It was the quiet satisfaction of holding your life in your hands again, and knowing no one could take it from you this time. 2 years after she stole my startup, I bought it back for $1 million. Today it's worth 50 times that. And tomorrow I'll wake up and build more. Because revenge isn't the ending. It's the beginning you earn.